Very distracted. minute. If you intend to speak, you have to sign in back there. We would appreciate it if you signed in whether you're going to speak or not. But if you're possibly going to say anything, you do need to sign in. Close enough. I'm going to call the meeting order. We have everyone here who's going to be here from the board. Bart Ryerson is online, and Jim McMaster is excused. Are there any other additions to the agenda, Dawn or board members? Anything else you want to talk about that's not on here? Hearing none, I will accept the approval of the agenda as presented.
I move to approve the agenda as presented.
Second.
Lisa moved, Gail seconded. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Those opposed, motion carries. Next on our is approval of the consent agenda. For those that are here, the consent agenda is boring minutia. Many jurisdictions have a consent agenda. This is the minutes, the bills, financials, that kind of stuff.
So-
Any board member can pull something off of the consent agenda if they wish.
The financials have errors in, so I would
Okay.
say that we should not be approving that this right now, because it's wrong.
Okay.
And we'll wait till we get the revised one.
All right, so I would accept a motion to approve the consent agenda sans financial reports.
So move.
Second.
Moved and seconded, those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Those opposed? Motion carries. All right, public participation. Pickleball, you guys are up first.
Okay, good, thank you.
Tell us who you are.
I'm Hunter Wiley.
Thank you.
I'm a chairman of the Pickleball Advisory Committee, and I'm treasurer of the Newburgh Pickleball Club. The board packet that I sent out basically gets all the things that have gone on and so forth, so we don't have to go over all those. The most current events are the courts are being painted and cleaned and painted this week with new lines to support 12 courts. Thank you guys very much. They're doing an excellent job out there. I visited today. The other thing that we were looking at was essentially the overall position of the district as it relates to pickleball. And reviewing the upcoming budgets that have been approved and so forth, it's pretty clear that we're not in the program at all. That essentially, and I've been told by one of the senior managers that we have no priority. We're out 5 to 6 years at best, and there's always other projects ahead of us. So any other representations that we've been getting are certainly not reflecting what's in your own written documents. One of the things that concerned us in looking at the planning documents that we had was some of the assumptions that were being made on projects that were clearly not in the books before, were being funded with large amounts of capital, instantaneously, did not have priority. And in fact, in some cases, went against some stuff we were told regarding placement of facilities. The first one that came out was the area behind Chehalis Valley School. We looked at that as one of our possible places to put pickleball courts and parking. And we were told that was the area that was reserved for a AstroTurf soccer field. And that was what it's going to be used for. And it's being used by the schools too. And then we see the minutes or the notes that came back from the meeting, which I thought I was going to be attending, but evidently not, with the school district discussing potential uses of the school district property and renting, for placing pickleball courts on. We got the notes from that back. It was apparent that that was definitely not in the cards in that conversation. I found out about it after the fact. I was referred back to calling Dave Brown, who wasn't taking any calls, wasn't taking any email. So that was pretty much a done deal. That was not going to be revisited. So representation that I could participate in that, or pickleball, at least to have an input, didn't come through. So a couple of things that have concerned us in many of our conversations with the board is, one was the expression that the board had a zero cost of capital for funding. And I don't know anybody who has a zero cost of capital for funding. I mean, you guys debt retiring debt and so on and so forth, just like anybody else. And that really shouldn't be a concern of ours. Well, that led us to start looking at the budgets and what areas were being funded without any priority, and with this the money just came out of the woodwork. Well, obviously, Liberty Field was one of them. Funding of our grants was another one. If we'd gotten those, there had been some matching funds involved. So we're going, well, we're seeing budgets laid out here, we're seeing large capital liabilities for the district, but I don't see any priorities or places where that's going to come out of any set of funds. So that resulted in two things. One is spending a lot of time over here with assistance to the staff, going through the budgets, as recently as today, discussions with Don today. Also, going through and looking at your books for 3 years, your audited books. One of the things that we wanted to obtain was your standard auditor's report. And I don't know if there is one. We've requested it. We've sent over an actual auditor's report completed, not for you, but for a similar organization. It happens to be the Willamette ESD. Dave Novotny, I know you guys are familiar with him, you had a meeting. So that was only an example to say, listen, this is the kind of stuff we need. And as Don and I were discussing today, we're looking for just transparency. You know, if you guys are going to fund it, just tell us, okay? Don't lead us on, don't make promises to us. Just say, no, you're not going to get it. End of story. But when we started going through the budgeting for the facilities that you are supporting, we found that in many cases, it was absolutely crystal clear, the accounting and so forth. I mean, you could eat your lunch off those books. But one particular set of books, which we went back to the source data, we went back to anything that was supplied, and that was the golf course. I don't know what you could believe. So we ran the numbers. And using your own data, it wasn't ours, income was off by $500,000. Essentially, if I had to net it out, we're seeing what should be a really pretty simple accounting of, you've got two operations, you've got the clubhouse thing, which is the general operations, and you've got the maintenance facility. And then we see these things broken up even further. And then we see capital purchases being made through the budgeting requirement, which we thought would be just normally entered into the budget for that facility, saying, okay, we need this much equipment, need some lawnmowers, new trucks, whatever. What you would normally expect in county. That's not the case here. If we look at what we'd expect the public should see would be like the accounting processes and procedures you see on a monthly basis from the aquatic center. I mean, that's perfect. Everything matches. It's easy to figure out where money is coming and going every month. Now, when you look at the only report, and these are attached in your monthly, that report looks like that. That's their report. You see it. It's in your budget notes. I mean, when you make those approvals, like today and exceptions, I assume that the budget packets and everything else fall under that. Okay. When you look at the same thing that's attached right after it from the golf course, frankly, it's nonsense. I mean, I don't know what to believe and what not to believe in this. And the reason I'm concerned about it is just the extremely large amount of cash that's involved in operating this facility. And so I think, if anything, the process has to change for reporting it. This, I mean, the revenues in here, they show, and Don and I talked about this today, this specific report. And it should show all the transactions coming into the golf course. Okay. It reports some statistics on, number of starts and so forth, which is like adding garbage cans to cars. The clouds came in the golf course, and produces a number which is just, who cares? It's not telling you anything. The two numbers are number of starts that are in residents or non-residents. That makes the sense right there. That gives you basically the number of players that are playing, total per month, total by the year. And it gives you a great idea of how the golf course is doing. So, they've got things in there like groups and this, that, and the other, and some large totals. I mean, you can add the number of chairs plus the rug and everything else and come up with a number. It's not going to mean it. But starts and so forth, that will. And the revenues they're showing here for the golf course, and I assume this is everything going through the golf course, is $500,000 lower than what it says in the budget. That's a significant number. And should be looked into, since these come across your desk every month. This report, to me, is pretty key to what's going on out there. And so, because when I turn around and do a pretty simple analysis of what the costs are out there, you've got, looking at this last year, and you're looking between 10 and 11,000 starts generally for the life of the course, some higher, some lower, but that's, last year you had 10,868 starts. Depending on the actual cost, you lost between $1.5 million on the operation, or if we assume your own revenue numbers, you lost $954,000. Now divide the number of starts into that, and it comes up for every person that plays, $144 per start that you're subsidizing, or $88 if we believe the numbers of income that you present. I don't know which are true. I can only repeat what I've been shown in your own reports. That to me is a pretty serious discrepancy. That amount of subsidy, when you combine that with the amount of money that you've spent to date on the golf course, which is about, including debt, a little less, it's about $9.3 million, excluding interest payments. From the date you started and the development cost and everything, that's money that's already been spent, $9.3 million. Now you're looking at someplace between, $800,000, $900,000, and $1.5 million negative cash flow. That's serious. So when I look at a budget that says we got zero cost of capital, I kind of wonder, it doesn't look like it. Now, part of this was we wanted to get to the bottom of what the numbers were that were beyond our opinion and calculation. Okay. So we asked for an auditor's report that I assume would have been submitted to the board and to the organization. We haven't gotten one. They didn't know what it, and I don't mean to be critical about it. Maybe they haven't seen one. I submitted one that was from the Willamette ESD, which was an example of what an auditor's report looked like. This gives you an opinion of what the auditors view of your finances, how you're doing your operations, and so forth. That, I think, is key for any board member or operating staff to be able to appreciate what actually is going on. If it needs to be changes, you make the changes. Okay. Now, Mike sat down and with Don.
Do you want me to comment from him?
Go ahead. Take it. Mike's taking it.
Well, I'm not taking over, but I'll take it. I'm Mike Ringwine, president of the Newburgh Pickleball Club, and I'm also on the board for the Columbia River Pickleball Club, which has well over 800 members. And I think the last time we were here, we gave a presentation on the benefits of pickleball, how it appeals from 9 to 90, how it's the fastest growing sport in the world, and almost weekly we'll see a new report as to why this sport is so prevalent and growing. I haven't personally looked at those, I've been out of town, I just got back a couple hours ago. But I wanted to thank Heidi and Don for sharing I got the chance to look at the 19, 20, and 6/30/21 numbers. And my understanding is that you won't have the actual 6/30/22 numbers till December. Is that correct? And I was gonna talk to Don a little bit more, but he had another meeting. But just a couple things that stood out that were quite positive is that even though the revenues and expenses were in balance, but the liquid assets went up from 5.3 million to 6.15 million to 7.1 million. Long-term debt in that same period from 19 through 21 went from 25 to 23 to 22 and a half. So the debt's going down, the cash is strong, but what I didn't have access to was the current, the capital expenditure needs for the next few years, and maybe a little bit more detail that would have given me more information. But from what I can ascertain, obviously Don's doing a good job managing the numbers. But anyway, I want to, I think what Hunter is trying to say is a number of people, including others here, have met, we've met on a regular basis. We're trying to help Newburgh. I live in Newburgh. I want it to flourish and grow. And I see pickleball as a way to actually make money. I don't know the numbers on the golf. Now, maybe there's other factors I don't realize because I haven't studied them myself. But I'm convinced that you will not lose money by having covered pickleball courts. And maybe that has to be done in phases, but right now we've spent a lot of time and energy and we've gotten nowhere. And I'm just kind of puzzled by that. When I feel like not only is it great for the businesses in the community, but it can be positive cash flow to the park district. If we attract more tournaments with better facilities, you guys will benefit from it. So I guess I'm just puzzled, and maybe it's because I don't have access to all the information yet, but I didn't see any reason why there wouldn't be funds available for.
All right, so I've been generous and let you guys go on here for 15 minutes.
Thank you.
So I'm not gonna debate the finances of the golf course with you. This is not the time and place for that. I think that, I speak for the board, that we're very supportive of the concept of pickleball. Not everything is, black and white as far as funds. We have capital funds that we have discretion to move and such. We've been talking about pickleball for a year, less than a year.
Year and a half.
Year and a half or so, yeah,
Okay.
anyway.
Took 13 years to get the golf course built. I'm not telling you I want it to take 13 years to get pickleball built, but I'm just saying, with public jurisdiction, things don't just boom, always happen as quickly as we'd like to. We don't have a good piece of land that you and us have been able to agree on to put the courts.
Could I remark on that briefly?
That's been an issue. Let me finish, I'll give you a
Excuse me.
chance to
Pardon.
we are enthusiastic about the new school area in Dundee, because discussions we've had with the school district there, they've got more land than they need there, and they're very willing to work with us on that. We wouldn't have to pay for a parking lot, which is gonna be one of the bigger expenses of your complex.
Right.
Much more so than the courts.
I understand.
They'll have a plenty big parking lot there that we can just, piggyback off of. So, that's something that we're very, very interested in. I know you guys have some reservations about having the complex in Dundee, but, we're gonna have to compromise here. There were some discussions about, could we make it work, at least for a while down there at Rennie, where the old tennis courts are and stuff. Nothing was decided, but we did have some discussions, that looked like maybe a possibility of getting something done sooner for you folks. So, I don't feel like we've done nothing. But, Hunter, go ahead, you wanted to.
The major reason there was a disagreement, as it turned out, for, it's the golf land out off the Wilsonville Road. And, you know, I put together that paper doll cutout, so to speak, of the golf course, laid it out. Don said that, you know, that he thought it would work at that time, but he wanted further consideration. And then the next meeting came back, there were safety issues, he said. Okay. So I'll ask the board this question. You're standing on a park trail out there, one of your trails, and I'm in a tent. Who's safest? There's no safety concern out there. Pickleball's a covered facility. You've got park trails running all over that place, parallel to the fairways, right off. They're driving balls. I've talked to people that have walked out there and had the golfers complaining. That's gonna occur. That's this, that, and the other. That's just a happening golf course. In any case, so the safety concern is valid.
Okay, I'm not gonna debate that here, and I mean, the safety concerns, Hunter, weren't with pickleball versus golf, it was the way that we would have to, you know, squish the fairways together and not have enough buffer between this fairway and that fairway,
Well, they were laid out in the same area.
so. But they-
Anyway, we can
they
take
were
that later on, but-
Constricted to a large degree, so,
I think it's.
other board members wanna
Yeah,
speak?
I think that, I understand your frustrations, I really do, and I think we would love to be able to have a sufficient amount of land and money and everything else to just have it done. You guys were looking for money, we didn't even find out until May that you didn't get that money. And so, you know, in terms of budgeting and everything else, we still need a place, we need to know what that's going to be before we can budget for it, really. You know, if it's gonna be at the new school, and you don't have to do the parking, that amount is gonna be a lot less than if we have to do it somewhere else where we have to accommodate all of that. And there are other projects that came in, that have been waiting for years, like the Sanders Estate. And so even though we may look like we have a really good positive bottom line, which I do appreciate the staff doing a good job with that, there is some other obligations that we've made. There's the 219 campground, that's been waiting for years to occur, and there's some issues with ODOT. So there are other considerations that have been sitting on our plate for a very long time that other people are quite frustrated about. But it doesn't just occur. We have to find places, we have to have the money, we have to also prioritize it. You're right, we should have considered something in terms of projects when we did the budget and added the pickleball to the project list, because we can't do it unless it's on the list.
Well, I understand, and part of that, in going through the project list, and I'm not debating your projects, that's your choice and your priorities. The items that are on the projects list, unless they have SDC funds or general funds tied to them, or a grant in hand, it's just limitless. So if I mean, for example, the cultural center, which was number one, I think it was $2 million this year or something like that, or $3 million, and next year $2 million. I thought, well, maybe there's something I don't know about this, and there's some grants in it. So I called up Lonnie Parrish and said, hey, Lonnie, what do you know about this? Nothing.
Well, no, I'm on the Cultural Center board, so I can tell you that the Cultural Center has raised $5 million of money. This is a public-private partnership.
Oh, I know, I mean,
Right.
I'm one of the donors for that.
Right, and so they've raised that money in order to get this next phase going. So
But that's self-funded by those people. What's it on the park?
it isn't completely self-funded, it is mostly self-funded, but they still come to the park district. The park district also pays for the in terms of the building maintenance, the grounds outside, and all of the utilities in the
Mhm.
facility. So it is a real public-private partnership there. It has a high priority because they are raising a lot of money to make sure that happens. And I think we've said that consistently here, that the projects that sometimes get prioritized is when people are bringing in resources and the timing and everything else can move forward. It certainly makes it a whole lot easier for us to
I
go ahead
understand.
and add that and bring it up in a higher level of a priority. But in most of these projects, there's a whole lot of other pieces that are a part of it that can stall its progress in one way or another. Finding land is one of them. Having it be in the county instead of the city is another. So there's a lot of complications to it. I think every one of those projects on that list, the intention is to have them all be completed. So, you know, like I said, I hear your frustration. Pickleball is something that a lot of people are really very interested in. We don't have a spot yet. And without a spot, it's really hard to do anything. And on the golf course thing, I'm staying away from that at this particular moment, until there's, I mean, that is, to me, something where you sit down as a committee, try to figure out what can happen. I don't think it happens in this space
No, I
without
didn't intend
analysis
that.
ahead of time.
Just that, in looking at priorities and funding, and future demands for funding and so forth, they can affect that priority list, I understand that.
Yeah. And they will, and so if you had gotten the grant, that $4 million grant that you were looking for, and we could identify a piece of property that somebody was, we would actually add, your project would go up higher on the list, because it is going to take less to get it actually done. And that's been my experience so far.
As a public agency, I mean, we're audited every year, so you know, I assume Don shared the audits with you, or Heidi, or somebody?
Yeah, well, these are numbers, they did share it. I thanked them a minute ago for that
Okay.
access, so. Yeah.
All right. Well, thank you, and, you know, all I can do is, you know, we are,
I would say as a new board member, sorry, as a new board member, I would like to, I'm also curious about some of the questions that he raised. I mean, now is not the place to debate golf course budgets, but if Hunter has questions, I think that should be transparently resolved for him.
Absolutely. You understand, and I am sure that Don and Heidi would be able to show you where those things are.
Thank you.
All right, thank you. Trails Committee, are you Brian, or?
That's me.
That's
Lacey.
you. Oh.
Yeah, Lacey Darling.
Hi.
Hi, I will be really, really brief. We are in the process right now of taking on signage. That's been the big request, is that we address a lot of the signage issues, one being the the Riley trails. Bob and Crystal Riley, thank you. That trail was brought up at our last meeting. We had a lot of conversation regarding signage and usage, and that's kind of what we're working on right now, and it's our main priority. We also have another subcommittee going that's really just based on, again, with signage standardization too. But that's our main priority right now. So we are open for comment on that and any suggestions that people may have, but we'll come back to the board, I believe, next month with our recommendations on signage.
Okay, I know Brian showed us had some signage ideas that he shared with us last meeting, or meeting before last, maybe?
Yeah,
So-
yeah,
Kat got that information.
Yep.
Okay,
yep.
All right.
That's all I have.
Brian, do you want to add anything?
I just wanted to thank Dawn for accommodating the nicotine for Thursday nights, the rest of their season, and just be available if you guys have any questions.
Okay. Any board member questions? Any of the rest of you here for trails? Okay. All right, thank you.
Thank you.
We are at the point of others not on agenda. We assume that's you.
Yeah, I'm here. So I'm Sean Russell. I'm a member at large of the CV BMX LLC. I also have a 10-year-old boy that races BMX. He's pretty good. He just got back from Worlds. Did pretty good there. He made it to 8 lanes. A little nervous, sorry. So he beat out half his field at a world event in France. So that's pretty cool. So I really want to thank Newburgh for having a track. There's not a lot of tracks in the area. Cycling's a huge part of my family. Like I said, my child, he excels at BMX, and BMX community is second to none, mostly made up of volunteers. We take pride in our local tracks, all of them. Every track has a huge group of volunteers, and I'm here because of Richard Glass. He's our track operator here at CV BMX. Somewhere along the way, he's lost his way. He's tried to force Ryan Storfa off the CV BMX LLC. He fired him as track operator, assistant track operator. No board meetings. I've made complaints about sand being put into our bank turns, which creates a slick surface when the riders are riding through them, and they're sliding out, and it's causing pileups. And they continue to put the sands in there. We keep cleaning it out, we keep washing it out, and they come back and they're trying to make a smooth surface to make it faster. But when they don't water them, the sand comes to the top, and riders are going down left and right, and they're getting hurt. For a short stint, Richard was selling boiled hot dogs out of the snack shack. We don't have running water in the snack shack. They were using the track water that we water the track with to do cleanup and boil these hot dogs. Richard Glass installed some 1.25-inch pipe at the base of our start hill, which is a huge safety concern for impaling our riders and riders that just show up and don't even know they're there. Rick's also refused to provide a safety data sheet for the 2,000 gallons of the chemical that he's applying to the track surface to make it all weather. Envirotech's website does not have this information and states only that environmental data is coming soon. He won't tell us if there was a permit to put this surface down. Upon the attempted removal of Ryan Storfa, I decided to look into the governing body of the CVBMX LLC. Found out that Richard's pretty much a socialist dictator at the track. He's refused to hold any type of board meeting since he took over in 2019. We haven't had any we haven't had any no, we haven't had any elections for any board of directors at any time. Not even a meeting, no nominations. He's appointed himself as track operator. He's our president, Ryan Storfa is our secretary, and Paul, our former track operator, is a manager. Richard's also refused to provide us with an accurate list of board of directors. Richard's also refused to provide the bylaws for us. He's also refused to provide the 990 reports for our 501c3. We've yet to receive those, and I can't get access to those at this time yet. I'm still trying to get those. We have a large group of volunteers that are ready to step up and help govern this track, and he's standing in the way. He's not allowing us to come in. He's not listening to us. He's not hearing us. He's pushing volunteers away, left and right, and he's created a situation where our moto count is dropping rapidly. We've gone from 30 Moto Tuesdays down to we had 10 yesterday or Tuesday when we were here last. So I'm here to make a report, just to report out that, because I think we're having to go to the Department of Justice to have them step in. And I want them to know that we are taking steps to keep our 501c3 so we can keep our tax deductible status for our people that are donating money to us to help that track keep going, because it does take a lot of work and it does take some money. So if I can get you guys to step in somehow and get him to play ball with us, that would be beneficial to us. I don't know what else I can do other than go on that route. I overheard Rick telling another parent that he's hired a lawyer because I looked into the 501c3. I'm not sure what that's about. I haven't looked into hiring a lawyer or anything like that yet. But yeah, I don't want to have to get into a legal mess, but I definitely feel our community deserves a voice at our track, and we don't have that this time.
Okay, thank you for coming, expressing your concerns. I think the first thing, I will be honest, this is all new information. I've been on this board for 30 years. We've never had anybody come talk about BMX, other than maybe a report about some meet or match or something. It's just, it's on our property, but it sort of runs over here. Dawn or Casey, can you maybe refresh the board on what the operations, understanding is between the group and the district? I mean, we own the track, but they run it, right?
They run it, they're responsible for upkeep and maintenance and improvements. And the last I talked to Brian and/or Richard, they were working together. That was like a couple of years ago. And I've talked to them since. And they both said that there's been a rift going on, and it sounds like the board kind of collapsed or isn't there anymore.
So COVID kind of didn't raise a lot of questions. I mean, it was running
Yeah.
decently, things were getting done.
Yeah.
We had a hugely successful fundraiser last year at the end of the year. Raised a little over 15 grand.
Yeah.
And that money was decided that he was just gonna rebuild a track. He didn't let us have any input. He just
Yeah.
decided what he was gonna do with the money, and
So
told
it's
anybody that
not-
stood in his way just to go away.
It's not a board decision.
It's not a board decision at all. We've never had a board meeting. We've never been invited to a meeting.
Well, maybe it's.
Our next step is to petition the meeting from Storfa, but that's creating, we don't want to do that because it's creating a rift in the BMX community. We would just like him to play ball, call a meeting and let us have our elections.
Well,
Let's have
that should-
nominations.
That should be in the, I have a document here, bylaws of Cheyenne Valley BMX. It should say when your meetings are.
Yeah, we don't have any.
Dawn?
My suggestion is, this is a group of people, I used to be a member of the Yamhill County Mediators, and has handled a lot of meetings very similar to this. And I think getting them involved in this particular deal, bringing all parties to the table, will be very, very important. And with your agreement, we'll start working on that, get with them. And again, all parties have to agree to go through that process. But if they don't agree, then I would come back to you, tell you who would not agree, and we can stop. We own the property, we own the course, so we can do what we want to do. But I think it would be better to involve all people and all concerns and go through that, rather than dictate what happens or doesn't happen.
It's obvious that both groups have an interest in the track. It's just
I
that
have a huge vested
different
interest in having an operating track.
interests.
Yeah, so I got a kid that's running worlds. He wants to go to the Olympics for this sport, and there's a good chance he'll make it.
The track itself for the board was built by the BMX organization, the bicycle, back 10 or 12 years ago, before anyone knew. It was one of the few tracks that was sanctioned in the United States at the time. There was only 3 or 4. And we took pride in that, as well as the BMX. And that particular park was like our sports park for individuals with the BMX, the skateboarding and those. But again, with the board's approval, I'll just go get with the Yamhill County Mediators and get the parties together, and I'll just report back to you.
Do we have an actual agreement with Cheyenne Valley BMX for the use of that space?
Yeah.
Just as far back as,
I was provided one that was unsigned, so I don't know.
yeah.
we've
I
had,
never did find a signed one.
Jim would have known, but to answer your question, yes, there's an assumption there.
I think we should probably formalize it in some way.
Yeah.
So,
And that will be part of the
Process.
process and the mediation. I would agree with that.
yeah, because I don't think without that, I'm not sure how much we can do. It does, based on what you're saying, he's in violation of
Yeah.
these bylaws already, and that is something that it would go to, I think it is Secretary of State.
From what I can tell, it's the Department of Justice.
DOJ.
We'd have to, we'd have to go to the DOJ and get them to step in, but without us making a formal attempt to get those back on, they'll just take our 501c and trash it. They'll just
Yeah.
come back and apply in the future if you ever figure out how to run your business correctly.
Everyone would be better off if they went into mediation,
Yeah.
by far, because once the attorneys get involved, it's gonna cost everybody a huge amount of money, and you're not gonna be happy with the outcome. I've never known the outcome to be happy when that has occurred. But we'll get busy on it and get with people and pull it together.
Okay.
And it will take, if done right, it's not something that's gonna be done in a week, or you're looking at probably a minimum of a 3-month process to go through and to do that, because there's a lot of meetings, and we'll provide the backup and the meeting places and stuff like that.
Okay, so if that's agreeable to you folks, I mean, that's seems to be the best solution.
Yeah.
Well, I have no reason to doubt anything you're saying. By the same token, this board can't knee-jerk react and say,
Oh, I hear you.
Sean said this, so boom, we're gonna, execute this guy over here.
Like I said, we're just here, we realize that we don't have a voice, and we want that voice. I mean, a community thing, there's a huge community involvement. We've all been there, we've all taken part, we've all helped work on the track, we've all picked up trash, we painted the buildings, we've rebuilt the track parts that broke in and fall apart. We help the kids ride, they come out that don't know how to ride. We've all been huge volunteers. We help the show. Every time when they need flaggers and they need stagers and they need people selling concessions, we're there for that. But Rick's not there for us. He's not listening to us. We just want to be a part of the community and have our voice heard
Okay.
and see our vision built too, not just his.
Okay, we appreciate that, and this is, you can understand that this is actually, a staff issue first,
Yes.
and then we'll get a report from them, what and if the board needs to do. But there are cards for most of the staff out there by the door. Dawn is gonna be on a well-deserved vacation most of September, so you can stay in touch with Casey or Dawn, and make sure we have, so you signed in.
Yes.
Do we have your email or phone
Yes.
number on there?
I got my phone number, emails on there. yeah.
Okay, so somebody will be in touch with you, I promise.
Sounds good, thank you.
All right. And we will move on with the agenda. What I'd like to say to everyone here is, you're always welcome to stay for the rest of our meeting. We're not offended if you don't. What's that?
Take no offense.
Don, I have one more person actually.
That usually clears them out, I guess.
I have one more question.
You have a question?
Well, not from me, but from a person in the chat, from Jim Marble. He asked, why is Jakewith Courts reconfigured without input from the tennis community or bordering neighbors?
It does have.
So I think this is more probably for Brian Casey than the board, but it's a question during.
So I can answer a little bit of that. So Jim Marble, who is a tennis player, stopped by the office, I believe it was Wednesday, and yesterday. And he was concerned because Brian's crew is working very, very hard out at Jakewith right now, putting in, relining 12 courts out on the Jakewith courts. So when Hunter talks about, those guys talk about nothing's being done, total opposite of that. We've spent so many staff hours just, in the last, I would say, 2 months preparing and making sure that both the pickleball and the tennis community have a great place, to play. We've ordered paint, we bought a machine for them, and Howard, who is a new employee, and his crew have been out there, cleaning the courts. They're gonna repaint everything, and they're gonna provide the pickleball club with 12 beautiful orange courts that look totally different than the 4 tennis courts that are out there. So, but Jim did stop by on Wednesday and say that he wanted to know why the pickleball people have taken over a little bit, and then he also would like to reserve the courts on Thursday evenings from 5 to 7 so that he can teach people who are interested in playing tennis, essentially create a little tennis club for free for people in our community. So that's where that's coming from. So I said, well, you should form a club, very similar to pickleball club, and so that you can have a say in that as well. Now, our requirement out at Jakewood courts is that if the pickleball people are out there, then it's first come, first served, but that they are also allowing the tennis community to play as well, because pickleball there are a lot of them, and they go out there and there are probably 80 of them that play very regularly because of the weather now, 6 a.m. to about 10 o'clock a.m. Monday through Friday. And then they play in the evenings after work as well. Tennis community is a little concerned about that. So,
Is there a way to schedule, to do some scheduling?
yeah, so that's what we've done. So I spoke to Jim Marble yesterday, and we have decided we're gonna start advertising for them. The first thing that they have to do is actually have clientele,
Yeah,
right?
it's been pretty
So,
slim and bare as far as
Yeah.
tennis players go.
So Thursday evenings from 5 to 7, we have reserved the 2 courts actually for the tennis community to come out, and Jim is he's offered up his time so that he can teach people who are at all levels and he's a high level player and a really good player, but he would like to, I think he's actually called a couple fouls on you, right? Jim Marble, he was an adult.
Yeah, he's former referee, former CPRD softball player.
Yeah.
At one point too.
Yeah, he officiated in our adult league for many, many, many years. But anyway, he's willing to spend his time for free to help people in our community learn, how to play tennis. So we are doing that.
So just for my understanding, if I go between 6 and 10 a.m. down there, and there's pickleballers out on the court, and I want to play tennis, what happens?
So they have to we have a court at the end that's open, and we prefer 2 courts, but there's 1 court at the end where they can play. And the pickleball guys have been very, very good about sharing their space. It's just there's so many of them,
Right. Right.
And I think it's a little intimidating sometimes for some of the tennis players to go out there. But those 2 groups have to learn how to get along. We cannot schedule that, for them. I mean, they're open public courts. Anybody can go out there. I think those groups could work really well together. I think they're, very respectful of each other. But
So there's 1 court that's designated to be a tennis court at all times.
yeah, 1 or 2.
Basically,
they'll move
but if
over.
nobody's playing tennis, the pickleball people are gonna jump on there and play.
Yes.
And then if you've gotta have the gumption, if you're a tennis player, to get out there and say, we wanna play.
Yeah. And there are, I would say 80%.
Do we have good signage that explains that out there?
No, probably not.
Probably should.
Okay, that would be a relatively cheap thing to do.
Yeah. The pickleball group, they do have what they call a scheduler, so you can go online and you can schedule a time, but that isn't anything, that basically is just, yeah, they didn't have that. But anyways, Jim I was wondering, and I told him, I was like, I've been wondering where you've been, because he actually lives his house backs up to Jakewood, and so.
So that's where the comment about the neighbors came from. Well, so wondered if he can play tennis. He was blind as a bat as a referee. But whatever.
Make sure that's in the notes. But anyway, so we have a good, I think, working relationship with both those guys, and so we have, Matt Compton, our recreation coordinator, is actually working, with him. We're gonna get some information out on our website, flyers out, you know, and on our, Facebook page, so that we can let people know that this is available to them if they're interested.
Yeah, I think that's good, because I think if you have a lot of interest in pickleball, they should be able to play on courts that aren't being used, you know?
Yeah.
But we do need to make sure that that they can't take over to the point that nobody can play tennis.
Yeah, absolutely. And it's very generous of Jim to come forward and say he'd be willing to
And I know
spend his
that
time.
tennis team, the high school tennis team uses them at times too. So
Yes.
They're gonna have to reserve them for
So I do think that, you know, a sign that details, this is how this works, so it's up there in black and white would be.
Yeah. We'll work with both
a good-
groups
a
to
good
create
step.
that. Yeah, that's good. And we have tennis camps out there. In fact, we have tennis camp going on out there right now. So they, essentially, we just let them know that we've reserved the tennis courts for our little camps, 2 hours for 2 weeks, so. It's just all about communication, essentially, and they seem to be willing to work with each other.
And follow-up question to that from the same person. Are the courts in Dundee going to be rehabilitated?
eventually. They aren't bad, they just redid them a couple years ago. They've been open, nobody plays them, or what?
I don't know.
Do people play pickleball out there too?
They don't have stripes up there for pickleball. They don't like being out of Newburgh.
Okay. I'll note once again for the record that the first match ever played on the Dundee courts was me and Fran Cofield defeating somebody, the ceremonial grand opening of the park out there. I don't remember who we played, the Fran and I did.
Smith, remember?
Smith?
Smith.
Stan Smith, probably, yeah, for them.
No, it was.
Stan Smith and
he
Arthur
was-
Ashe, maybe that was who it was. Yeah. Billie Jean King, I don't remember.
You guys won.
I just remember we won,
Right,
yeah.
yeah.
Fran and I won, I don't remember that.
Mr., can I make a request?
Sure.
Sorry. Based
You
on,
can get it, you can request anything you want.
yeah, okay, so based on Hunter's presentation, one of the things that got me thinking is that we only get summaries of the financials in our packets. We don't get the financials, except during the budget committee period. And I would like to make a request that we get them at least quarterly. Because I do think that, we're seeing what the budget is and we see the budget to actuals from the prior years, but we're not seeing during the
I'll
year.
just-
And when people
I'll
are
just
coming
say-
in here, I wanna make sure I have some clue.
I'll just put the monthly financials in your board packet,
Okay.
When does that
Done.
auditor's report come out that he was talking about?
copies.
We had, just for the record, we had, before Heidi came up, there was some turnover with the finance, and so the audits were delayed, right?
Correct.
And
What
so-
he was talking about, he got the information off of your report. That's not official, It's
Not the
board
monthly
report.
summary.
which is not even part of the financial. And like 10,000 rounds, we have 40.
We do 45,000
Yeah,
rounds a
yeah.
year, so. And the other
Yeah.
thing
As
is,
soon as
the
he said
golf
that,
course,
I knew he was way off.
Right, right.
and the golf course doesn't run on Springbrook like the rest of the district, so that's why my reports look different. I can talk to Heidi and see if we can change that, but I think that's just separate data entry to get it to where it would look like he said, looking like the pool reports are run.
Yeah.
So,
You can assure me the golf course will be open tomorrow, we're not gonna go under.
I took out the financial reports by the boards. They said, don't do that anymore, just give the summary, but I'll put it back.
Okay, thank you.
Yeah.
All right. Any other input from the public there, Richard?
No.
All right, moving on. Okay, the next item here is appointments to the golf committee. So the golf course committee and I met, or the first phase of the golf course committee, because we're going to have 7 folks eventually, but the 4 that we appointed a couple months ago, we met via Zoom because I was at a conference out of state Tuesday night, and we had 3 people we came up with to fill the other 3 slots on the committee. We do have more people who applied. Some people did not put much effort into their applications, quite honestly, and so there was a couple folks that I was disappointed in how they filled out the thing. We will there are going to be several subcommittees eventually. We will make an effort for anybody who applied for the main committee that does not get selected. They will be high on the list that we will reach out to them to be on a subcommittee. So we do want to get everybody involved that wants to be involved. But as Kat was on vacation over the weekend and such, and we had a Friday deadline, there were some applications that came in, unfortunately, that we didn't realize when we were looking over what we thought was the group of applications. So to be fair to everyone who did in fact apply by the deadline, we will need to revisit and see if any of these, I'll call them late applicants, but they weren't really late, they were there, just the ones we didn't have, see if they knock out anybody that was on the top 3 that we had selected at this point. If the board is okay, as the president of the board typically does appoint committee members, although it is with the approval of the full board, and because of the next item on the agenda, we're going to change the September board meeting, and the golf course committee really wants to have their first meeting on September 27th to get going. I would like to request consensus from the board that once we go through this process, that I will just go ahead and appoint the 3 other committee members, and then we'll report that to you at the next meeting.
I'm fine with that.
So you're asking permission for you to just appoint them?
Yeah. Well,
Hey.
he actually has that authority already, but he was going to bring it to the board. If there's a common courtesy, if somebody else is interested in that particular area, that you would share that. But he has the authority to appoint any committee member at any time. That's, as the board chair, that's that role.
The president appoints committee, and then the board approves them.
So he would be selecting and bringing back that slate of committee members at the next meeting for us to.
Then if you have a serious concern about one of the people who's appointed, you can bring it up at that point in time. Can you live with that?
Bart?
Bart?
I'm all right with that, Don.
Okay. I can let the board know now that one of the people, because he was unanimously the number 1 by the consensus of everyone, one of the people will be Todd Saunders, who was a former board member and is very active. Everybody knows Todd and what he's done for the district, and it's no slight to these other applicants here that we're going to take a look at to say that they're not going to knock Todd off of that top slot. So
Yeah, he was on my top of my list too.
yeah, he will be. He will be one of the 3. I can guarantee that. So, and we'll see how the rest of it shakes out. So, all right. So
And Don, excuse me, Don, were you going for 5 members or 7 members?
there'll be 7. You'll recall that we appointed 4. There's 4 folks that were here that night, and then we agreed, the 4 and I, that we want to have a functional committee of 7.
Thank you.
Sort of the cap that we put on it, but do intend to reach out and involve everyone who had applied to be on the various subcommittees that are coming. There are folks on the committee that are sort of focused on the clubhouse. There's some folks that are going to be focused on improving the driving range, another net, maybe lights, maybe heat, maybe covered area. There are folks that are more interested in the third 9. There may be folks who are more interested in getting the permanent restrooms built out there. I mean, I know that's a concern for the ladies. They don't like porta potties. So there will be several groups looking into various things at the golf course. So we'll do our best to involve everyone who applied. With that, we'll move on to the next item, which we are going to, by consensus, unless somebody's violently opposed, change the September board meeting. With normally September, if you look at the calendar, is a little bit of a quirky month. This Thursday is the 1st, so the 4th Thursday comes on the 22nd, which is pretty early in the month for our board meeting. So we're looking at moving it to the 29th instead. Dawn will be back from his vacation, so he'll be here if we do that. And Casey is gonna be very busy helping with the aeration of the golf course on the 22nd, which is kind of an all hands on deck experience for the golf course crew. And so, the plan is to move the meeting from the 22nd to the 29th.
Are you making a motion and looking for a second?
Technically, we probably should do that.
Motion to move the board meeting to the 29th.
Gail has moved.
Second?
We'll let Bart have this one.
Yeah, I'll second that one.
All right. Those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Those opposed, motion carries. All right. Board member comments, reports, soapboxes. I'll start, I don't have anything. Bart?
Yeah, so what I'd like to talk to you guys about is the condition of the baseball fields behind Chehalem Valley Middle School after the games. My wife's a teacher, and she's mentioned to me that the custodians, on Monday are out there picking up garbage every time. And then we have a neighbor that walks the course constantly, and she on Mondays takes a garbage bag, and she's showed me several times the litter that she collects after those weekends. And I think it's a great service that we do. A lot of those I think are even out of our district, people that are renting the course. But I'm thinking, I don't know if it's the right idea, but I'd like to get input from Don and Casey of maybe we need to have like a cleaning deposit. It gets totally refunded if people don't have to go out and pick up litter, but there doesn't seem to be a lot of incentive for those people to pick up after themselves. And I don't think it's fair to shift that burden onto the Newburgh residents and neighbors and the district.
So, were you talking about the Wright complex?
Yeah.
Yep.
What does the contract say when they rent those?
I mean, we put extra garbage cans up there, we pick the trash up Monday mornings, that's in the cans and stuff, but, we don't send people around the park, because it's all over the place, that's.
Yeah, the contract states that Benji bags all of his, all of the garbage and then places it where Jim stops to pick it up on Monday mornings.
Is he required to do the grounds as well?
Yeah.
We
And
should
he's
have enough
not
trash
doing
cans
it?
out there that nobody's just dropping it
Yeah.
all over.
Bart, are you talking about the actual garbage at the grounds or the?
Oh, it's the parking lot and the grounds around the dugouts and the trail around there where a lot of people are sitting out, around the trail in the outfield and just leaving their pop cans and soda and, snack wrappers and everything out there.
Yeah, definitely. I can talk to Benji tomorrow and just make sure they're off for a while now. They won't be back until fall ball, but I can definitely talk to him about that. He has dedicated supervisors out there that are responsible for that and the snack shack and all of those things, so we can hit them again and make sure that that they're cleaning that properly.
All right, Julie, I'll find my neighbor just took a picture of the garbage bag she brought back recently, and I'll forward that over to you that you can use to share.
Okay, perfect. Thank you.
And then, of course, as I normally do, really excited about. I know the county hasn't been all that great about working with us here, but really like to keep working on getting a piece of property, whether that's the old landfill, Newburgh landfill property for the Chehalem paddle launch and for the trails, or working with the other landowners to finally find a place to reopen the Chehalem paddle launch. And that would be it for me.
So back to the cleaning issue. So is Benji's contract, is the parking lot included in that?
Well, they use it.
Okay.
It should be.
All right, I would just say that, I mean, you know, we've had a long, fruitful and good relationship with Benji, so I think that at the very least, at the first, we should just have a chat with him
Yeah.
and say, hey, and, you know,
Yeah, I'll talk to him.
give him a chance to fix it first.
Yeah, we, you know, this will happen periodically and,
Yeah, we
you know,
get
sometimes, and I think really that, so we've had summer nationals the last, all of July, 3 weeks in July basically, and people coming from outside of the state, you know, to our facility, and there were just so many of them, so my thought is that, you know, there was just a lot. But Benji has to take care of it.
Are there
He knows.
garbage cans in the parking lot?
Yeah,
Really? Okay.
because we have to pick them up on Monday.
Okay. All right.
Thank you.
Yep.
Oh. Gail. Gail's good. Lisa.
So I think you saw in your packets that the cultural center is getting closer to its next phase, so that's super exciting. And the cultural center board has this last month, or earlier this month, it had a retreat and is doing some DEI work to make sure that that the center is available to everybody and that people feel that they should be participating, because there seems to be a lack of people from different cultures using the cultural center, which seems kind of oxymoronic if you think about it, since it's a cultural center. So working on trying to figure out how to get more people to feel that they should be coming in and using that center in a way that the entire community has access to. So that's what they're kind of working on right now. And like Bart, in special interest, I was hoping, because I didn't see it, and maybe I just didn't read closely enough, but any update on the Ewing Young bridge?
I just talked to John Champlin today. And we're kind of waiting. He's got the plans and things all designed, and it's going to go to land use. And currently, we're working with Angelo Planning with the campground and trying to get our master plan approved. It will be probably an easier sell to get that project approved if we kind of wait for that master plan to get approved. We're in no big hurry now because it's not going to get done until next year, and we're thinking that land use is going to go, or the master plan is going to get approved before, I would say, November or December this year.
And so if you include that
Well,
project, then?
It'll be part of the master plan, the parks master plan, and once they approve that, then it'll be easier to go to them and ask for approval to use the land, because it is considered agricultural AF10, and apparently Ken Friday at the county has already told them that he won't approve it, that we'll have to appeal it, and it'll go back and forth because of their bridge fiasco at the Yam Hills. So, sit tight.
If there's anything I can do to help that process along,
Well,
I'm more
there
than
might
happy
be-
to go
there might
fight the
be
good
soon.
fight.
'Cause-
Okay,
Yeah,
okay, good, because it's a little bit irritating
I know.
that another jurisdiction is trying to pull us up from doing what is our responsibility to do, so.
The city should have annexed that land.
Well,
We asked them to annex the land. They was supposed to have annexed the land.
can't we go and ask them to annex the land now,
We'd have,
recently?
yes,
And they said no?
Yeah.
yep.
And what was the city's reasoning for not annexing it?
I couldn't tell you.
We should talk to the mayor.
Talk to the mayor.
Will do.
Once that land is annexed, it's a done deal.
Alrighty, thank you. I have homework to do.
So to speak.
That's included in the land that the developer.
Yeah.
It's
that it?
Yep.
All right. All right. Updates on projects and questions. Casey, the ball's still in your court.
I don't know anything.
Okay?
Well, I do. I think they're done with the pool. We're kind of waiting to test things out, and then hopefully it all works, fingers crossed. Josh got hurt this morning or this afternoon. He had tore his Achilles. So we're waiting to see how that goes. He did that at work trying to move a stage down for Summerfest. So he won't be walking on any roofs for a while.
Well, given that it takes a highly trained professional athlete in the peak of their athletic career, generally considered a minimum of 9 months, generally 1 full year to recover from a fully torn Achilles tendon, he'll be out for a while.
Yeah, we don't know for how long. So that's good news. Hopefully it all works. Everything's installed, ready to go. We're just we've had the pool shut down, so there's not been a load on some of it. We're getting ready to shut the recreational pool down for cleaning, maintenance. It's been 4 years now. So a lot of the stain came out of the original. Even the footprints that were in there from the construction workers came out. So we're pretty happy with how that turned out. Like Lisa said, the cultural center, Sean and Dawn and I met on, what was that, Monday, Dawn? We talked about the costs and, things we can do to get the cultural center. Sean thinks it's a reality. He's pretty much told us he's got the money to do it. And, we are gonna have some costs. The roof, the cost estimate on the roof was $800,000.
Just to re-roof it?
Yeah, it's a little high probably, but we're gonna get some quotes and things together. Because you don't wanna build up the top portion without redoing the roof. There is some questions on the roof as it is and has been since the kitchen area was done. So that's another thing. The campgrounds are still working on that. I've been at the golf course for so much now that I just kind of get snippets of emails from people, and so I'm gonna have to revisit those Monday. Tomorrow is my last day at the golf course. I've been helping Scott get going, and I should introduce Scott Robinson. This is our board of directors, President Don Loving, Lisa Rogers, and Gail Bouchard.
And Bart.
And Bart, right, yeah, Bart Ryerson's up in the camera there somewhere.
And Jim is
Jim is missing.
He's missing.
What else is going on? Well, Brian's probably got some news projects.
He'll get his turn in staff reports.
Yeah. Most of my project reports are in the board report, and we've just kind of been working at the golf course, so trying to get that irrigation and everything figured out.
Okay. Any questions for Casey?
I'm kind of still stuck on the $800,000 roof. Are you changing the roof line? Is this like a?
No,
is this just-
that was the estimate to re-roof the cultural center.
That's a huge amount of money.
It's a huge roof.
Well, that's a good point.
I had an estimate just on I think the Hypalon that's up there, which is 20 plus years and probably over age, was $125,000, and that was 3 years ago. That's just a portion of the roof. So, and there's shingles up there, there's Hypalon, there's another type of roof. There's 1, onto 3 different areas of shingles, like 3 different ages of shingles, so it's very piecemeal together.
I know nothing about roofs. Would it make more sense when we re-roof to do it all the same way? Would that be
Well,
more
and
efficient
that's-
for the future? or-
That would be something that we would have to address. I don't think we could do it all the same. Some of it's kind of flat, some of it's sloped. Yeah, I'm sure you could do shingles on the slopes.
Plus, don't you have all the like HVAC stuff up in the roof too, so you have to
Well,
have that
that's
support
another,
underneath?
yeah, there's vents going through the roof, there's all kinds of stuff that protrudes through the roof line. There's HVAC units up there, and they're gonna put more up there, I think. So those are all things that might add to the cost. But I really kind of delayed the roof until I knew what they were doing on this project, because they're gonna go through the roof again. And you don't wanna just keep poking holes through the roof. So, but I think Sean's pretty happy, and I think that he said the board, the cultural center board was pretty happy, and they're ready to go forward. I didn't see anything on the line in the cost estimate. Nothing that would jump out at me.
I was surprised that it came in as good as it
Yeah.
did, given construction these
Well,
days.
knowing that company, because they did the one at the Sanders, they were, I thought they were high out there, so I'm hoping they're high there.
That'd be
Fingers
good.
crossed. So, yeah.
Thank you.
All right. Be quick, the next few, we've had our full fill of pickleball for the evening. We've done trails, we've done the golf course. Easement update.
We got the attorney, and the people are still interested in swapping the land for ours. John has been researching it and gave me a memo, which I'll share with you later on. And we're just still moving on it.
Are you gonna be bringing that to this body before you
Yeah.
do? Okay.
We'll have to bring it all back to you for approval.
All right. Dawn?
Nothing.
All right, staff reports. Let's see, we'll start at Brian's end. Brian, have you done anything?
Well, excited to be in this position, sitting at this table. I think it's the first board meeting I've had an opportunity to attend since July 1st. Taking on that new role, as I'm excited about that, but still maintaining my old position and developing the staff. It's kind of a hybrid thing, and that excites me very much too. And those that know me, I'm more of a boots on the ground, roll in the dirt kind of guy, and I have no problem sitting behind a computer either. But, so the future looks bright there. We've been super busy this summer. I think it's been in the 12 years I've been here, a very unique and exciting summer, and a lot of it had to do with the staffing we were able to develop and hire due to the steps the board took and Don with the raising of the minimum wage, our starting wage here in the district. It made a huge difference and was very impactful in the opportunity and the candidates that I was able to hire. And so that made it very exciting. We've been able to make a lot of headway coming out of COVID. It came at a great time. And I think the parks, trails, golf course, cultural center, aquatic center, they're all seeing that. And so that's been good for the district for sure. We have been spending quite a bit of time in kind of a goal of mine this year is to revisit the neighborhood parks. Some of our older parks, the ones that built this district, the first ones we put out there. And I think the community is seeing that and they're really appreciative of that. And it's just part of the evolution of the district. It isn't like they were neglected by any means. It's just how things come full circle and we do evolve. So that's been exciting for us to do that too. And then still maintain the newer ones and, as we grow. As Julie mentioned, it's been good to work with all the different crossover with the departments. We are busy, as I don't have to tell you guys, in terms of we probably have definitely jumped up to another level in Plateau. When we came, as COVID hit, everybody decided to get outside, as you all know, and rediscover the outdoors and pick up games like golf and visit parks and trails. And hey, we lucked out, that's our business. We were already here, so we didn't have to reinvent the wheel. But with that came the extra pressure of having to worry about people loving us to death, you know, like state parks are feeling and everything else. So we have to be cautious of that. Just that. Something that I think I'd like to discuss sometime, and definitely not tonight, and it's on the forefront of every city, and the park district and cities are feeling it, is the different populations that are every city is feeling. Like, so with the houseless population, people in our parks and the pressure that's putting on, and then the community engagement with that. So I think it's something we need to talk in a work session or something in the future about. We have great rules in place. We communicate well with public safety and people that visit our parks. But it's going to be a growing pressure in things that are in our parks. So we probably feel, you know, I get calls almost daily from the public asking us what are we doing about certain situations in certain parks. And it's real easy to explain that there isn't necessarily a problem. Nobody's breaking any rules. But a lot of people in the community perceive things differently than maybe others do. So, or somebody sees something that they look at it negatively, that we might not necessarily look at it negatively. It's just someone that doesn't necessarily look like us. So I think every town in the world and country is having to deal with that more and more, and I think the district is going to be no different. So it's something we need to be aware of. So I just thought I'd put that there.
So I appreciate that. I don't know that issue falls well with any of our current standing committees per se. It's not-
No, but I do know that it's an issue for the city as well, and so I think I would encourage you to just coordinate as well with them for whatever kind of things they're doing, because the car camping, you know, it's my opinion, given the cost of housing nowadays, that I think there's going to probably be an uptick across the country with homelessness or houselessness.
Oh,
And
absolutely.
so the issue is only gonna get bigger. And so I think the idea of trying to figure out what we can do as a community, I think it's gonna be, everybody in the community is gonna have to figure out how to deal with this, so that it's, you know, I mean, you have to be somewhat compassionate. You can't just, and there are laws, right? I mean, you have to, if you're going to remove somebody from a park or from a street, you have to be able to have a place to take them. And currently, we don't really have a lot of opportunities. So I think it would really behoove the district to kind of coordinate with the other jurisdictions that are within this community to make sure that like, so that we're not all doing it individually, and that we can come up with a more comprehensive kind of solution that's good for all of us.
I agree.
I know I've seen a lot of families, which is different. So we've had a lot of our camps out at our parks, and that's what I've noticed this year is that they're, you know, in the past I think we've seen a lot of single, you know, people out there just by themselves, but I've just noticed a lot of families, particularly at Jakewood.
It's sad.
Yeah.
So Brian, thank you for being proactive on that. Think about it and come back and let us know if, you know, what you think the best idea. You know, we can do a work session with the full board. We could appoint, you know, a work committee so that we have, you know, 2 board members, so we don't have to public notice it and all that. And you know, 2 board members could work with you and then report back to the board. That would be another option. Just think it through and, you know, give us a recommendation for how you'd like to deal with it. And otherwise, good to see you here.
Yeah, thanks.
I speak for the board in saying that we're very happy with the great work that you do and oversee. It was a great day in Park District history when we stole you from the city.
Yes, it is.
It's a two-way street.
And I,
Yes.
thank you for also, I'm really glad to hear that the increase in salaries is allowing for you to hire more people. It'd be great to get a report maybe at the next, Dawn, at the next board meeting about what that impact has been, because I know that we approved the additional money. So, you know, how has that really rolled up?
I'll just ask the staff to put it in the report.
Well, yeah, and if, Brian, I don't want to put words in your mouth, but if I heard what I think I heard from you, it's also a matter of, you know, it didn't just simply allow you to hire more people, but, you know, perhaps better
No.
people.
And if I conveyed that, I worded that wrong. What it actually did is it leveled the playing field, I believe, for CPRD, when people took a look at that and said, and we actually gained because now we're equal with anybody that has a sign out there saying hiring people on starting wage $17. But now look at all the great benefits that we already had in place that McDonald's doesn't or anybody else doesn't, in terms of, hey, we have an aquatic center, hey, we have a golf course, hey, we have things that you, a benefit that you'll get as a part-time employee that were already in place. So by being proactive and taking that leap of faith or whatever, raising that's a huge jump. It actually, we were ahead of the game. We really were. And then you saw it, and you see it today where other cities and municipalities and districts are struggling because they didn't budget for that. And now they're behind the 8 ball. So you guys, you did a really good job with that.
And can I add to that, what we're seeing in special services is the retention. So we have a lot of kids who go home for the summer and they come, now, you know, they are coming to us and saying, hey, please hold this job for me. We really would, you know, when we go and come back to George Fox, I just noticed that in our care programming with our lifeguards and our sports officials. So that's awesome.
That's good to hear. And special recognition to immediate past President Rogers for spearheading that. So, thank you. Casey, we've heard enough from you. Scott, we expect a detailed 30-minute report from you on that.
First, welcome.
Welcome, just give us some initial impressions, and hopefully you intend to stick around another couple weeks.
Yes, I can honestly tell you that every day I feel more comfortable and really glad to be here.
And how have you found the course, just generally speaking?
I actually saw it online on the National Golf Course Superintendents Association website.
So, but what are your impressions of the course as far as its
I think the
how
course
it
has-
looks and what its future can be?
I think it's got great bones, and I think it's going to be a continued great place for people to come and play.
All right, well, you know, we're losing hundreds of thousands of dollars, so we need to make some improvements. So.
And you're a golfer too,
Was
right?
that been loud?
Yeah, potentially millions, so yeah, we need you to make that all up.
I'll do my best.
All right, thank you.
Just don't
Maya?
do-
Madam Vitus, yes.
Okay, so we are very excited that Tara has returned. So I just wanted to mention that. She has started out a couple days a week, but gosh, we really felt her presence. And so had a lot of talks the last couple of weeks about her return, and so we're very excited to have her back in the saddle. And it's been, you know, a little overwhelming for her. I think there's so many people that want to talk to her and offer their condolences, and so I think that's been the hardest part. But she stepped right in and just doing a great job, of course. And swim lessons she kind of missed the swim lesson thing, so she's kind of okay with that. But we're excited to have her back, and she would like to come back full-time in the next couple weeks. But right now, she's just easing herself in. So it's been great for Wendy. She's doing pretty good. Let's see, we were just talking about, staff retention, and we had a lifeguard class recently with the highest number of potential lifeguards taking that course. So we had 17, and some of those were younger. We hired 13, so staffing looks great right now, and headed into fall, even better. So thank you for that. We really
Were
feel
there
that.
non-Bizos in the class?
16 of them were non-Bizos. 16 out of the 17 were non-Bizos.
And again, not the golf course, the aquatic center is doing really well. Revenue is higher than expenses this month, and there's been a lot of activity there with the draining of the pool, and the staff has stepped in to help with that, and I think they've done a really, really nice job. Actually, special services has just really been camps. We have been absolutely full. We have 24 recreation camps. We just finished up with Safety Town. We had the Jordan Kent Sports Camp that just completed today, so that's exciting. Jordan Kent came out, the Oregon Duck fans. And then we have so many sports camps, and they are absolutely full. We have wait lists, and we've tried not to have wait lists, so they've just been huge. We have 2 tennis camps, 2 basketball camps, a Pee Wee sports camp, a soccer camp, a football camp, a track and field camp. And then we had the 5K run for adults. And that was fun. The weather was nice that day. Out at the Old Fashioned Festival. That was good. In CARE, we have 75 kids that are attending CARE daily. That's exciting. Tomorrow's the last day of summer care, and then we'll head into fall camp fall care. I'm sorry. And we, Erin, who is our coordinator for the CARE program, we met with the principals of all the elementary schools last week and had a nice meeting with them. They're mostly new. We have a lot of new employees, but particularly principals. So we just wanted to meet with them to talk about partnership and how we can, work together, and also to explain to them kind of the history of CARE. And they're, because they're new and their secretaries are new too, they don't really understand that CBRD has some priority there in terms of using their facilities. And so we wanted to make sure that we were in good communication with them, because that's such an important program for kids before and after school.
How was it received?
Really well.
Okay, good.
Yeah, really well.
Good.
So Erin does a really nice job with all of that. She has, she's working hard with her staff now too. We have some training to do for our fall leaders. Let's see, the senior center, gosh, we have a new, coordinator there. She's been, her name is Sarah Larson, and she's been really working hard to create new programming at the senior center. But we're seeing a lot of activity there, which is great. I think that's about it. We've started our fall programming, and oh my goodness, football's already in full force, so numbers are phenomenal.
I would think, generally speaking, I know that most school districts that have some sort of a CARE-like thing, it's run by the school district.
It is.
And so I would think an incoming new principal would probably be relieved to find out that's not on his or her plate.
Well, Dawn, and I and Erin met with the assistant superintendent. He is also new, and some principals about that very thing, because they did not understand that many years ago, Dawn, met with the Newburgh School superintendent, and they formally asked us to take CARE over because they couldn't run it. And they couldn't afford it, and they couldn't do it well. And so that's good information, for them to have.
The agreement was that they would provide the facility, and we came across with several agreements, internal agreements. The other thing from our viewpoint is it must be sustainable, and we set that program up to be sustainable. Unfortunately, sometimes people want to go out and someone will come in and they'll say, well, we'll give you money, but it's a 1 year or 2 year money. it doesn't work, because in the third year, the program goes away. There's community after community has done that. And when we set ours up, we said it's gonna be sustainable, and we set it up. At the same time, we said, we'll not turn anyone away. There are people out there that can't afford it, and we do not turn them away. Unfortunately, principals mean well, but they go out and start programs without even talking to us or telling us. And it creates competition that's totally useless, and they don't have enough facilities for both. So it doesn't work. And I think they mean well. I know they mean well. But what's important is that we keep it sustained and we keep things going. And I think they're on board, but just remember, every time a principal changes, we're right back to square one. They don't know anything about it. So we have to go through the whole thing again every time superintendent changes. Again, we go through it. So, but it's just part of doing business. And the model works, and it's important for the community. So we're just going to stay with it.
But that's where the communication comes in. You know, we thought that was important to get out there and to explain, hey, this is what we do. We want to partner with you, so this is a great experience for both organizations, so that it's successful for the kids, because it's all about the kids. I did want to end by saying Brian has been fantastic to work with. He is right now he's in charge of the pickleball resurfacing out of Jakewith, and he's doing a great job there, and also improving our softball fields, because this is the only time they're not being used. And so this is an opportunity for us to make some improvements, or they're used so much that is necessary. And he and his staff, and Casey's staff, have just been phenomenal to work with. So
They're our staff.
Huh?
I said they're our staff.
Our staff. But it's just, he's, like Casey, very proactive and good working relationship, and so thank you.
You're very welcome.
Thank you.
You know, my son is a care leader alumni. That's his first job, is helping with care, and he moved up and was a care leader. And I was going to mention that Brian's report, and he's 33 now, but so in Brian's report, I got a picture from Michael on my phone last week of my 3-year-old, just turned 3-year-old grandson helping the crew rehabilitate Buckley Park. He was out there. That's his favorite park. He likes the little stream and the fact that the playground's never busy.
Very cool.
But yeah, he was out there, sticks and stuff, and yeah, helping the crew.
That's awesome.
For those who don't remember, this mystery man who's usually just a voice on the screen in the corner, this is Kellen. He's the golf course superintendent, making a rare public appearance here.
Scott's the golf course superintendent, but we just finished our final junior camp 2 weeks ago. We were full and tried not to have waiting lists, just like Julie was talking about this year, but they all went very well. I was fortunate to have a good staff that like being around kids and teach them golf, so successful year there. We had a summer PGA Junior League 2 that finished up almost a month ago, and we're going to start fall league here soon. Usually a little smaller numbers, but we have less people coaching, so not necessarily a bad thing. We do still have 40% of our full shotgun golf tournaments left this year. I know it feels like fall and we're kind of winding down, but yeah, still 6 tournaments left out of 15. So still a lot to do. Unfortunately, lost some staff back to college and school, so we're trying to get through it. I'm trying to hire a few people to help go into this fall busy still season. So that's what I got.
And all kidding aside, I would mention is the board member who spends the most time at the golf course, Kellen and Brett, our assistant pro, they are fantastic with the kids. I see them out there with kids, and you guys do a great job with kids.
Thank you.
Richard,
Yes?
anything to say for yourself?
Just doing a lot of work around the district. We
That
just
is why we pay you.
Yes, I'm very grateful for that. No, we just got done with the competition pool at the Aquatic Center. We shut that down for 2 weeks and did a whole acid cleaning and just overall cleaning of the whole competition side. There's Wendy and I can't think of her name. Krista doing acid washing on the side of the pool. There's all the lifeguards that would normally be working. They created a crew to.
They are working, right, Richard?
Well, I hope they're working, but no, they were really awesome. They did all the squeegeeing of the water back to the main drain as we were acid washing. So they also by hand, what is it called? Basically cleaning the calcium deposits on every single tile around the pool by hand. Pumice cleaning. So all the hard water that was like really just icky looking is gone. We will be resealing that probably within the next couple weeks as that product comes in. Just more pictures of them working. This is before what it looked like, and this is after the acid washing. So big difference on just what it looks like. Squeegeeing, and then again before and then after acid washing. So yeah, and then we refilled it. We had everything done within the first week that needed to be done in the pool, and then we refilled it over the weekend, got everything balanced, and this is what it looked like, really nice and crystal clear, clean. And according to Front Desk, public is really happy with the result and how clean and wonderful it looks. So yeah.
So the rest of you take notes. Richard's report was much more interesting because he had pictures going.
I tried.
Let's control the electronics.
Bringing plants next time.
But again, we will be shutting down the leisure pool next. We will be setting up a computer station in the little between the outdoor and the inner door to check people in, so they don't have to go to the through where we're going to be working. We're going to drain it. I think the 6th or the 7th of September. We'll be draining it. We start work on the 5th of September, so we'll be shut down from the 5th onwards to I think the 21st. So we'll be emptying everything and doing the same thing again. So yeah.
Kat, welcome back from camping.
Hey, thank you. Kept up my park and rec lifestyle for a very nice recent vacation, so that was nice. And I've just been kind of busy with this and that, just to give you a kind of a rundown, fine-tuning the new website design. We are going to do new headshots of all of you folks. We have a new slick in-studio photography setup, so we're going to be doing that and just kind of have you come in when you're able to during the day. We're always here, so we'll get details soon, but look for your combs. I've been supporting the staff position changes. We're working on a new org chart and lots of business cards and updating the website and different job descriptions, advertising for new positions and things like that. It's always a big part of these changes. Fielding a lot of public information requests. Pretty much everyone you see here in your meetings or hear from in correspondence or who is in our committees, at some point is here by a pass-through through the information office, so I support their information requests and as much as we can. I've been putting our 413 registration staff out in the field on outreach events and also in-house on social media posting, which has been good, giving them a richer experience and a richer reach throughout the community, not just behind the counter there, and which they seem to appreciate. Helping coordinate the transfer of the Mary Burles property with Don and other staff, and oh, I wanted to let you know that Ed Johann's guest visit to the golf course trail on David's Chair, you may remember last month we had said that was coming, it went super well. In case you get the graphic, it made the front page. I worked with the exposure on that to make sure we got good play, and he had a super good time, and he's a wonderful, amazing man with an amazing life story. So the article was quite good, and the granddaughter was very appreciative, as was his community out on the coast, on getting them copies of the news as well. And it was a great boost for us because this was his one trip outside in a very long time for an outdoorsman and mountaineer was on our trail. And I understand that we may be a touch point for these mobility devices, the David's chairs, which we can use to promote our accessibility of our trails and our parks, because they're pretty amazing. I mean, you can practically climb trees in these things. They're outstanding mobility devices. So Don's been talking with David's chair on that. And that's about it. Just rambling, trying to kind of give you an idea of the kinds of things going on.
Okay. Last chance for board questions of any staff. Sensing none, are there any comments about citizens' comments and evaluations / complaints?
Some of those were doozies this time. I was like, I don't know. I thought the one lady who was very upset about the 5 children and under 9.
Well, it's been a policy for a
why she
long
couldn't, I
time.
mean, I was like, wow, I don't know.
That's a
And
lot of
safety of my
people.
children, I would, yeah. I probably would have done that, but I appreciate that you guys are all dealing with it. So, thank you.
Does anyone have any miscellaneous info? And let's hope not. Good. I would entertain a motion to adjourn.
I move we adjourn.
Does not require a second. Those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Motion carries. Good night.
Thank you.